What's going on, people? I am Batman. And recently, as you may have already heard, in an effort to fix issues with Battlefield 4, DICE came out with these super servers, these high performance servers that the game is now running on, and I think it begs the question, why didn't they just do this earlier? Because it really has fixed a lot of the problems the game was having, and I'm not talking about just the rubber banding, but the netcode in general. I think has been very sketchy up to this point, less than accurate since the game's release. So it was having problems similar to lag in Call of Duty. And you know, it's one thing when someone lags around the corner and insta-kills you in Call of Duty, because the health is so low it's often hard to tell the difference. But it's a much more serious problem when somebody lags around the corner and insta-kills you in Battlefield, because in Battlefield getting a kill usually takes a while, and most people know that. You know, it's not an instant thing at all, unless under special circumstances, because not only do motherfuckers have a lot more health, but aiming is much more difficult as well. And so people were noticing that bullshit, on top of the rubber band bullshit, and that's been going on this whole time. And if all it took to fix that, to fix all these problems that people have been so upset about for so long, if all it took was putting the game on these servers, and again, this does basically seem to have fixed all the problems overnight, you know, and the difference is night and day, why did it take so long? I think it's because this was their plan B. You know, I'm not super tech savvy, so I don't know the specifics of what these new servers do, but I'm sure they were expensive, because there's something they can do that the regular dedicated servers Battlefield already had, obviously were incapable of doing. And we know dedicated servers by themselves can be very costly, especially when you're running these kind of super high, you know, bandwidth games on them. So I don't think this was something that EA wanted to have to spend money on, because otherwise they would have just spent that money months ago and saved themselves a lot of trouble, right? I think originally, in an effort to keep costs down, they were just trying to manually fix the netcode or tweak the lag compensation system just right and be as specific as possible with all the different potential combinations of internet range and speeds meeting together from 64 players at once. And they said as much. I mean, there were several announcements from DICE acknowledging the netcode problems, and then they would talk about the things they were doing to try and fix them. But none of those things ever worked, and never did they mention high-performance servers until, you know, just recently. And I often felt like every time they fixed something, they broke something in the process. Like, for instance, that bullshit in the helicopter where you get insta-killed by a rocket because it knocks you over on your side because of the velocity, right? They would keep fixing that, but then it would come back again after they fixed something else, or when they came out with the Naval Strike DLC, everything seemed to break once again. So it was pretty fucked up. So it seems like they reached a point where they decided that whatever they were doing at the time to fix things either wasn't working and wasn't gonna work, or what I think is more likely is they ran out of time, because the deadline is approaching to start hyping the next Battlefield. Alright, now the Call of Duty reveal trailer always comes out in May, actually May 1st. And if Battlefield is gonna go, if it's gonna annualize like Call of Duty, I imagine they will have to come out with some sort of trailer or official announcement of the next Battlefield. And so far, every sign is pointing in that direction. Their DLC schedule matches up with COD's, their leaking schedule matches up with Call of Duty, because COD is leaking shit every couple of days. You know, whether it's an image or that email to Drifter, and someone is leaking a bunch of Battlefield stuff too. You know, I encourage you to go Google Battlefield 2014. Every gaming news outlet out there has reported on it at this point. But they can't start hyping the next Battlefield if the current Battlefield is still buggy, because they would not receive a very positive reception for the same reason that they had to put all the DLCs on hold while they were fixing the game in the beginning during launch. If the current Battlefield is not working correctly, it's going to really piss everyone off if you try and sell a new Battlefield without having fixed the old one, because that's just a slap in the face to the fan base. Even though, if this new Battlefield is coming out in 2014, it will have been developed by a different studio, most likely Visceral Games, so technically it would be irrational for the consumer to get angry about it. But the thing is, the consumer is generally not very rational, and nobody knows that better than business and politicians, and that's why they're so shady all the time, because if they were just upfront and honest with us, we would punish them for it. Or at least a majority of us would, and that's just the sad truth. But even knowing that, I would still be upset if they announced a new Battlefield without fixing Battlefield 4, simply because of the principle of the thing, you know? So I think they finally decided that they had to put the terrible bugs and issues of Battlefield 4 behind them if they were going to move forward with a new Battlefield and not be booed off the stage, so to speak. So for me, the super server thing is just more evidence of a Battlefield in 2014 but maybe I'm just a conspiracy theorist. But it's like, if I know I'm crazy, am I really crazy? I don't know. If you have thoughts on this issue or predictions of your own, the time is nigh to let that shit fly. Don't forget to thumbs up the video. This is Batman signing out.
What the fuck? Good work, man. You nailed like a nailed you sister.